everybody, on this Thursday edition of podcast. Friend of Michael Borky. I'm always glad that you are with me. And do we have anything to talk about tonight? I mean, baseball starting tomorrow. I guess we can talk about Ole Miss State basketball. I don't know what else is going on now. I'm just being lame. It was Trinidad's day in court against the NCAA, as you know already. He won, and so we're going to talk about that tonight. The injunction that was awarded to him by the judge here in Pittsburgh, Mississippi. And you guys have seen it. You've reacted to it. You've talked about it. I've got a few thoughts, and then we'll read some of your comments tonight. But Ole Miss gets their quarterback in 2026. Let me know what you think right there in the comments, and we'll get to those in just a second. I invite you first, please, subscribe to the podcast wherever you get them in your favorite podcast app. By the way, give me a thumbs up, a check if the audio is coming through the microphone. I forgot to plug the mixer in, and I did it after the music started. So just let me know if this sounds okay, because I have no idea whether or not it sounds okay. So let me know and give me a thumbs up, something, just to making sure that this sounds good. But don't forget, subscribe in your favorite podcast app. Again, just search Rebel Report and subscribe. Spotify, Apple, wherever. And don't forget also right here on YouTube, like, subscribe, leave a comment, all that good stuff. This edition of the podcast is brought to you by Logan Smith, Shelter Insurance. He's got award-winning services, especially in the auto, home, life, and business insurance realms. I need to call him tomorrow because I'm going to add to my insurance, and literally tomorrow I'll be talking to Logan Smith, so I will be able to speak more than anybody about how good his services are. Even if you don't need auto, home, life, or business insurance, if you already have it, it's still worth the phone call, because I promise you will be blown away by the services of Logan Smith and Shelter Insurance, and he will take care of you anywhere in Mississippi. Give him a call, 601-823-3500, 601-823-3500, Logan Smith, Shelter Insurance. And again, don't forget to tell him that I sent you. All right, so obviously you guys know the news of the day. Trinidad Chambliss wins his injunction case against the NCAA in Pittsburgh today. That is not a surprising result. The second they filed the suit, we talked about it here, talked about it on the radio show. It's not a surprise that, frankly, it's not a surprise that a Mississippi judge ruled in favor of the Ole Miss quarterback against the NCAA. So this was always the expected result, not just because of location, though. There is a clear, I guess ignorance is the right word, with some people that are commentating on this that clearly did not consume any of it. Not only did they not consume the trial today, they did not consume any of the filings, and they don't care actually to be informed at all about the merits of the case. All they see is Mississippi judge, Mississippi court, Mississippi quarterback, boom, he's going to win. And it was an accurate assumption, but those people just think that that is the only reason why this happened, and not that there are merits to the case that Trinidad argued successfully today, that they laid out pretty clearly. And there are a lot of people that did not pay attention to that. A lot of the discourse is just disingenuous, to be honest with you. There are merits to what happened today. It's not corruption or anything like that. There was real argument that was laid out very clearly, and the NCAA responded by not calling a witness at all. They didn't call a single one. We'll get to that in a second. But this is and was the expected result, not just because of location, but because of the merits of the case. And obviously, this is a big deal for Ole Miss. We have been talking about him the entire time as if he's coming back. So what does this mean for Ole Miss? Well, it means what we've been saying really this entire offseason, that they return at quarterback somebody that is a preseason Heisman contender. He will be on all of the lists now. Mike Bratton, SEC Mike, had him as the number one quarterback in the league entering the season, of which I agree with that ranking. He proved that, especially in the playoff run. You have a guy that he's exceptional at a lot of things. He protects the football really well. He spreads the ball around, doesn't hyper focus on one receiver. His escapability is really good. Apparently, an excellent locker room guy on top of it all. You can beat any team on your schedule. You can beat any team in the country with a guy like that lining up at quarterback for you. So it makes the expectation for this season incredibly high. I mean, they should be a playoff contending football team with a quarterback like Trinidad Chambliss. It's not under center anymore. It's behind center, not under center. But we knew that already. It's clearly a conversation point. I think that the expected win total, if he would have lost for whatever reason today, would have dropped and should have dropped by 3 or, by at least 3 games. So I don't. Anyway, sorry, one of your messages kind of threw me off track. We'll get to that in a second. But that's no surprise. That is a big deal, but we already knew that was coming. All of those things are true. Sorry, got completely thrown off track by your message. I'm actually just going to get to this right now because I'm surprised at this. You say, why do Neil and Chase talk crap about you and Ben? Like they're journalists and you're amateurs. They work out of home studios and have media passes just like y'all. I have not been made aware of anything that Neil and Chase have said about me. Would you, do you mind cluing me in on that? I thought that, I'm always very complimentary of them. Saw them both at the Tulane game, and I thought it was really good conversation. I've been a big fan of the two of theirs for quite some time, to be honest with you. I really like them, and I really like the work that they do and the content that they produce. And every interaction I've ever had with them in person has been just great. So I'm surprised by that. Please let me know. Frankly, I'm curious as to what was said because that would surprise me. Because I'm a big fan of theirs. And anyway, but the other side. So that's the football thing. You already know the football thing. Heisman contender, playoff contender, all that because you have a guy like him behind center. I don't know about you guys. I watched the entire trial today. I can't believe I did that from start to finish. I watched the entire trial today, and I feel terrible for the people in the courtroom. At least I got to do other things. Like the media that were there. Of course, I could not be there because I had the radio show to do. I wanted to go, frankly. I thought it would have been valuable, but it was an all day thing, and I couldn't be 2 hours away from the studio. I'd have had to leave the trial at like 11 to get back here in time and to get it done. So I wish I would have been there, but I did get to watch every second of it. And my first thought was watching that. I used to think lawyers were overpaid. Not anymore. The fact that is what you guys have to deal with every single day of your life, that you have to sit there and listen to the monotony of a trial. I get why you charge so much. I understand why you, a lawyer, charges so much for your hourly rate, because you have to deal with that every day. That was painstaking. It was horrible. Horrible to watch. And I understand why they have to do it, because they have to enter things into record. But like when you have Joe Judge, Mr. Judge, what did you do before you got to Ole Miss? Well, everybody knows that, but you have to ask that for court record. But just having to sit there through that was just miserable and painstaking to watch. So God bless those of you that work in that every single day. And as Edward says, yeah, it was excruciating to sit there and listen to. And we played some of it live on the radio show today, but it got it was 92 minutes long. So we even stopped playing it until the very end just to hear him actually say it officially that it was done. But there's obviously a point to that. I understand that. You have to put these things into record. The judge has a ruling that takes an hour and a half to read because you want it to be as thorough as possible so it can't get overturned on appeal and on and on and on. It was a very long day, although there were some fascinating moments in this trial and a few things that stood out to me. And I've had this theory. If you listen to the radio show, you know that I have had this theory at least for a few weeks now, or a couple weeks, that I think that the NCAA really they would love to win these cases. They know they're not going to, and they want to use them as a thing that they can bring to Congress and say, see, we tried, and there's nothing we can do. Please come save us, congressman or congresswoman. And today, I think, affirmed my theory on multiple levels. Because the entire crux of this case, this isn't a Bediako thing. This isn't a JUCO thing. This is, simply put, an attempt to get the NCAA to enforce their medical redshirt rules fairly. That was the whole crux of it, right? It wasn't just to get an extra year to get an extra year. They weren't trying to talk about violating antitrust law. It was trying to get an additional year of eligibility through the existing precedent that is the medical redshirt rule through the NCAA. The NCAA argued, essentially, that Trinidad was not sick to the point where he could not play. That was their argument today. They made it today. They talked about incapacitation, and they got Dr. Dye, or they tried to get Dr. Dye to define incapacitation, which, by the way, Hayden and I had a good laugh of. Could you imagine going to a doctor? And apparently he's a outstanding doctor, wonderful man, all that. But they introduce you to Dr. Dye. Like, I would rather go to Dr. Liv if there's one available, but they tried to get him on that, the incapacitation. That is what the NCAA was attempting today, is to show that Trinidad wasn't sick. But in that effort to argue that from the NCAA, they did not bring a single witness with them. They did not have in their filing or in their arguments today a reference to a medical professional that agrees with the line of thinking that he couldn't play. Now, think about that for a second. Your entire legal argument is he wasn't sick or his illness did not prevent him from playing football. But the Chambliss side had a doctor there today, an ENT doctor, an expert in the field today. They had 91 pages of medical records. And they had a note from the physician at the time and all of that at the time. So the Chambliss side had medical professionals talking about actually he was too sick to play. And if you're trying to win, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so maybe I'm just talking crazy. But if you are actually trying to win this case, would you not have a medical expert that would counter that claim? Would you not have an ENT on record of your own saying, I reviewed the files, and honestly, I don't think this holds up? That wasn't ever at any point part of their conversation today. No witnesses, no medical expert countering the claim. And so for the people that actually paid attention to and watched this today, you hear that and you think, are you even trying to win? Are you doing everything you can in this day to win? And we talked about this on the radio show, and I said that. I was like, they didn't call a witness, not one, no medical expert, nothing to counter the claims. That's very odd. And we got one text that was like, well, they just knew it was a sham. Let's play that out for a second. Let's pretend that that's why they didn't do that. That's not my theory, but let's pretend that that's why. wouldn't you want to have as many witnesses as possible exposing the sham? We had all of these experts and all of this testimony and all of this documentation, and still we lost. They didn't even try. And so as I'm sitting back and listening to this and watching this, and the only argument that the NCAA has is, well, we just don't think it's valid. How could anybody in their right mind look at that and hear that and think they did an adequate job defending their position? You're charging the player, the player's mom, the player's coach, the player's doctor, a separate doctor, and some assistant AD for whatever. You're charging all of them with essentially lying, or at least manufacturing an illness to get him another year, and you did nothing to counter any of their claims. That tells me they weren't trying to win. That's my theory. That they take on cases like this and they fight them hard, knowing they're going to lose, so they can go, hey, Congress, look at what we did. We went to Mississippi and the judge was against us, and there's nothing we can do. There's no way that was a best foot forward approach from the NCAA today. There is absolutely no way that was real effort. They also admitted, and the NCAA's attorney even said during the trial to Trinidad, if you would have stayed at Ferris State, you would have gotten an extra year. So that's another part of this conversation. And I don't think the Chambliss side did a good enough job hammering this part home, is that the NCAA has different thresholds for different divisions, and they're trying to hold Trinidad to a standard, to the Division I standard for a Division II year. And it did get brought up briefly, but that point really sticks to me more than basically anything else. Is if he would have stayed at Division II, this wouldn't have happened, because he would have just been given another year. And the NCAA side today admitted that to be the case. Straight up said, yeah, if you wouldn't have gone to Division I, you would have gotten it. So that, I think, needs to be exposed and talked about more. Why does the NCAA have different thresholds for Division II and Division I? And why would a Division I player be held to the Division I standard when we're talking about a year in Division II? That doesn't make any sense. And of course, the NCAA engaged in a lot of hypotheticals. That was, you even had them bring up the Bediako thing, and those are not even remotely similar to each other at all. But they brought it up, and Judge actually, shot that down pretty quickly. But that's what the NCAA is doing here. They're not singling out Ole Miss. They're going to try to get not Pavia. I keep saying Pavia. Aguilar tomorrow. They literally drove up there to get Aguilar tomorrow. They're going to try the same thing up there too. But I maintain today showed me they're not trying to win. They didn't effort a victory today. What they did was they went to trial so they can show that they are helpless, to me. Or else, why wouldn't you call a witness or consult any medical expert that would tell you counter to what everybody else on record has said from the other side? That makes no sense to me at all. And then, of course, they walk out before the trial's over, which, I just took to Twitter and asked a couple of lawyer friends as well as that comment, and no. Walking out, leaving a trial is a disrespectful act. It's kind of like a middle finger to the court, and a big problem. And the judge did say that, he considered holding them in contempt for doing that. Really bad look from the NCAA, especially when it was argued that they acted in bad faith. They claim they did not, and then they leave a trial before the ruling is handed down. So what's next? The NCAA has 30 days to appeal to the Supreme Court in Mississippi. And I asked a friend to kind of explain what that means to me. Here's what he said. Upon a Mississippi trial court's granting of a preliminary injunction, the losing party may only seek a review pursuant to what's called is that interlocutory appeal by permission. What that means is a party does not have an automatic right of appeal from trial court orders granting preliminary injunctions. And the Mississippi Supreme Court may, and most likely will, outright deny a party's attempt to appeal the matter. Appeals from preliminary injunctions may be sought by filing a petition for permission to appeal with the Mississippi Supreme Court within 21 days after the entry of the order. Absent a few notable exceptions, the Supreme Court has rarely granted interlocutory appeals from preliminary injunctions. And even if the Supreme Court permitted the appeal to overturn the trial court's order, the Supreme Court would have to find that the trial court, Judge Whitwell, abused its discretion, which is a very tough hurdle to cross for a litigant. I can't read. I'm not a lawyer. He is. I'm not. To prevail under an abuse of discretion standard, the NCAA would have to prove that the judge's ruling was unreasonable, manifestly wrong, and clearly erroneous. That's not happening in this case because it simply isn't possible. He does not want a shout out. I would give him one. So I told him this in response, but I'll say here because I know he listens. Buddy, thank you. I really appreciate you writing all that up for me so I could share that with the audience because I do think that's really important. And basically, I'm not smart like you are, but reading that kind of tells me that this is over. It was always going to be over today anyway, but I mean, yeah, what's next in appeal? But you just heard it. It's from an attorney in Mississippi. So really, really, really good stuff there. We will get to your comments now. After I tell you, the podcast is brought to you in part by Priority One Bank. They make you their priority every single day with their online banking platform. It's a one-stop shop. All you need is an internet connection. You can do whatever it is that you need to do with your money because that's what they do at Priority One Bank. They make you their priority. Also, Advantage Business Systems, absms.com for all of your Mississippi office technology needs. Don't forget to tell them that I sent you. First comment, college football fans, when Pavia gets an injunction, cheers. College football fans, when Trinidad Chambliss gets one, the horror. So I will say, I think what you're seeing a lot of reaction from LSU and Georgia and Clemson people mostly. There's a reason for that. LSU wanted to take him, and there is some wonder about why only 4 players went with Kiffin to LSU. I know they got a great portal class and he'll win a lot of games because that's what he does. But if you were an LSU fan, you'd be lying to yourself if you didn't wonder, why did only 4 come with him? Why didn't Kewan come? Trinidad could have dealt with this in Baton Rouge. Why didn't Deuce Alexander come? Asked him to. Why didn't he? Why didn't Patrick Kudus come? Asked him to. He didn't. Why didn't he? Why didn't the punter and the kicker and the defensive lineman that you offered $2 million to besides Princewell, why didn't they show up? Why was it only 4? So there's a little bit of that there. They would prefer Ole Miss suck, and they don't. And Ole Miss kept good players, and they won today, and you're seeing some of that. Plus those who sat through that at the courthouse, unbelievable. Great news. So happy for Trinidad. Missed a ton this time of year. Been busy with AIT. How's it going, man? It's good to see you. I hope you're doing well. I'm glad to see you back here. I'm sure other fan bases that are panicking about this aren't worried at all about losing to Ole Miss and Chambliss again. Yeah, no, that's not what this is. They just want to protect college sports. They don't look at Ole Miss as a team that can beat them at all. No, of course not. Chambliss's representation was very strong. Thought Trinidad himself was a little shaky during his testimony at points, but this was a case that the NCAA was going to lose. Yes, absolutely. Frankly, the NCAA's biggest win today was in the Trinidad cross-examination, is when they got their best points across or their best knock in their favor. The NCAA did Trinidad Chambliss wrong. He wins at the end of the day. There are people who really think that this is the same as Charles Bediako. That was even brought up in court and struck down. Yeah, Edward, that tells you that people are so willingly capable. I guess is the right way to put it. People are so willing to have all of the information of the world right here at their fingertips and choose not to actually um, learn about anything that they're commenting on. Sat through the whole trial today. Judge was not happy with the NCAA lawyers. They left and never came back. Is he not the first team preseason All-American quarterback now? I bet that'll go to Arch. I bet that will go to Arch. Or well, there's a few options. I mean, you got Oregon, Ohio State returning good quarterbacks that had good years. He had a better year than all three of the other ones we're talking about, though. Chambliss should be the Heisman favorite. Definitely top 5. With Chambliss, the win total is probably around 9.5 to 10.5. Without him, it's 7.5 to 8. Yeah, I think that's about right. You know, it's been a while with the super chat. Thank you, man. Really appreciate you. Glad you're here, and totally unnecessary. Just a subscription to the podcast feed is all I ask for, but thank you, man. Really appreciate you. You say thanks for the hard work. You do a great job. Thank you. Think there's going to be a drop-off next year, like 10-2, more likely 9-3. I mean, the 9-game conference schedule, this is a more difficult schedule than the one that they just played. By far, I mean, yes, absolutely it is. More difficult. There's no doubt about it. 10-2 gets you in the playoff next year, though, with this schedule, compared to the one that they had last year. Good to see you, Pat. Yeah, it's been a while for you, too. Definitely at your annual quota of court cases I listen to start to finish. I'd be happy if I never do that again. That'd be great if I never have to do that again. Could understand a sizable step back in 27 if they underachieve this coming year. Whether it's fair or not, you can question the staff in place, including the head guy. 100%. 100%. Barring crazy injury luck, if they go like 7-5, there's going to be buyer's remorse. This roster is ready to win right now. Next year's roster, I kind of feel like that would be a bit of a rebuilding year. You have too much coming back on this team to call it any kind of build year or whatever. The expectations need to be sky high for this team. They need to. Absolutely need to. The NCAA never appealed for a different judge. Yeah, well, I mean, they didn't ask for change of venue, right? They didn't file for recusal. None of those things. They're going to go to Tennessee tomorrow and lose to Joey Aguilar. Yes, they are. Austin, man, really appreciate your super chat. Thank you, buddy. Always love your support. Here's my question. If the NCAA knew this was going to be the end result, why did they drag this out as long as they did? It goes back to my theory, to prove, to bring to Congress and say, guys, we're trying. There's nothing we can do. And, of course, there is something that they can do. They can engage in collective bargaining. They can lead and get involved with the conferences and trying to figure out a solution. But instead, I mean, you saw the statement that they released today, right after they lost the Chambliss case. They talked about collective bargaining. Or not collective. No, they didn't talk about collective bargaining. They talked about Congress. And please, Congress, save me. That's what they're doing. They're establishing a line of, Congress, we tried, please help us. And those are the last people on earth that you want to help you. Not even Saul Goodman could have won for the NCAA today. Yeah, they just came in and did the bare minimum. Absolutely bare minimum. Can the NCAA appeal? Oh, I already read that. Yeah, See, I was ahead of you guys. I know I'm behind on messages, but yeah. Ole Miss was able to get a judge who graduated from Ole Miss to rule in favor of Ole Miss. At least the relentless whining will finally stop for a while anyway. Oh, Ellis, I'm sorry today happened to you. Shane with the super chat. Thank you, Shane. I appreciate you, the LSU fan, with the super chat saying, shocking, a judge in Mississippi ruled on this. Well, thank you for your money. Also, Shane, to bridge the gap here, are the Saints about to get a draft pick for Derek Carr? Is that about to happen? God, I love what's happening right now in New Orleans. I love it. Not with the Pelicans. God, kill me. But things are looking good for our Saints there, man. The NCAA is corrupt and selective with enforcement. It was proven today. It's going to be the Heisman favorite next year. Has everyone ever told you that you kind of look like Drew Brees? I've never heard that before. I've not heard that before. There was I forget his name. It was a speed skater. Hold on. Got to figure out his name. Stoles, Olympic speed skater, Stoles. Jordan Stoles, listener to the radio show, said we could be brothers. And so as I looked it up, I mean, this guy and I resemble each other a lot, to the point where I was joking. I was like, I need to call my dad, figure out if he's ever been to Wisconsin. Remember a month ago when LSU fans said Trinidad and LSU gear all over social media? I do remember that. Really appreciate your super chat. Thank you. Thank you. I did take notes of people who were on social media today acting like this was the worst day ever, mainly fans of other schools. Why do people hate? So the internet is an equal opportunity hater, in my opinion. What you're seeing today, Austin, is fans are looking at Ole Miss as a threat now. That's what that is. That's what why the internet attention is what it is. Because with Trinidad, you saw it in the playoffs last year. Ole Miss is a threat to Georgia. How do I know that? Because they played each other in the playoff, and Ole Miss beat Georgia because of Trinidad Chambliss. That's why. LSU people look at Ole Miss, and I mean, it is a team that beat them last year, but Trinidad Chambliss on the road, going on the road to play that guy is a scary proposition. And I mean, we talk about how big of a game that will be around here with Kiffin and LSU. Think about what LSU people are going to expect when LSU goes to Oxford in week 3. Think about if Lane Kiffin loses that game. How much money they invested in that roster. And remember, only 4 players went with him. Only 2 starters. That's it. So he goes there and loses to players that it was sold that he's going to take with him. That's why that's happening. Interlocutory appeal. Thank you. See? I'm not built for that. Thank you. Interlocutory appeal. Okay. 13 weeks left at least. Well, it's good to see you, man. 10-2 next year's playoff bound with that roster. I agree. Yes. Yeah, the NCAA admitted that he would have qualified in D2 means that the records were de facto enough to approve the waiver. Yeah, and so that's where the bad faith part of it comes in. That's where the selective enforcement part of it comes in. And that shows you that people, the people commentating on this, and I'm not talking about random idiots on Twitter. I'm talking about people with platforms that talked about this that didn't make reference to that. Shows you that they didn't at all consume anything about it. They didn't actually want to learn about why this was possible. Does 9-3 make the playoffs with the 9-game league schedule? It could. It would have to be a really good 9-3. And the problem that you're running into is, I mean, the SEC has, maybe in the committee room they do, but the whole benefit of the doubt thing has been taken away, and you've added 8 more losses to your league. And I mean, a 9-3 Ole Miss might very well be more impressive than a 10-2 Texas Tech. But the committee has showed you in 2 consecutive years that strength of schedule does not matter to them. They proved it. Strength of schedule did not matter to them in last year's selection and this past selection too. So the SEC at media days last year tried to sell that they added they got the committee to consider new requirements, and now there's going to be a strength of schedule component, and the committee did not factor that in their selection. The argument was not that he was too sick to play, but that he was incapable of being competitive enough to play because of the illness. Exactly, but right. That's what the Chambliss side argued. The NCAA tried to. There was an interesting moment where the NCAA attorney kept talking about incapacitated. What he asked Dr. Dye, what does that mean? Incapacitated. And I think it was Liston had the judge hold up the NCAA rulebook because the judge had it on his desk. About this thick. I mean, huge. That word does not show up in it at all. It's not a threshold. It's not a thing that their rules say is a thing, right? And it's the same thing with practice. The NCAA attorney's asking, well, did you practice? Practice is not a threshold required to get a medical red shirt. So they argued against their own rules today. Yeah, I did not like that part. The very end. Didn't like that part at all. I'm with you. People are saying the NCAA will punish Ole Miss for tampering now. Like what? Let them try and it goes to court. Yeah. I mean, just do that again. What happened to Ole Miss men's basketball? Bad evaluations. They missed some evaluations. Move the Egg Bowl to where the Magnolia Bowl is and put the Magnolia Bowl at the end of the year. Nah, forget that. See, I disagree with you. I love you to death. I disagree with you, though. I think the in-state rivalry needs to be at the end. And I think the Magnolia Bowl needs to be on Halloween. Similar thing with Pavia. He was a threat to other teams to beat them, and he did. The judge, Whitwell, was strong with the legal performance. If they try and overreact on tampering, should continue to protect. You say ourselves, meaning Ole Miss, of course, successfully. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what comes of the tampering. I mean, I guess they could try. I suppose. I really, maybe I'm being naive. I will believe a severe punishment comes to a football program for tampering when I see a severe punishment comes to a football program for tampering. I will believe that when I see it. He will lose that game. I mean, there's so much pressure on Lane to beat LSU. So much pressure. Playoff is going to expand to 24 teams, and the SEC is going to get overruled on all this stuff. Sankey's a weak commissioner. He has not had a good run lately. Thank you. Yes, hit the like button. Yeah. Thank you for that. Going to go all the way with just decent O-line play next year. I mean, two positions for Ole Miss that have to be good if they're going to be good. It's offensive tackle and it's linebacker. I'm concerned about depth at linebacker. Frankly, I'm concerned about depth at both. And you can't have elite depth at every position on the field anymore. Nobody has that anymore. Nobody has elite depth at every position on the field. The days of that being a thing are just over. It doesn't exist, but that's Ole Miss's too. They have got to, the portal additions at tackle plus Therese Davis have to hit, and the portal additions at linebacker have to hit. Every other position on the field, I am supremely confident in. And I really like the talent that they added at linebacker. I'm just concerned that there's not enough bodies there. Every other position on the field has proven high-level players. It's those two positions where it's like, they need to have evaluated well and stay healthy there. Most media that covers college football do no homework. There's no context anymore. Everything's all about views and clicks. Nobody cares about being accurate or even like bothering to read anything about it at all. Same as last year, almost will go as far as the defense can carry them. I like the secondary a whole lot better. This is a point that was made today. The NCAA has medical people for that. They were never asked. The reason was because of that. It wasn't Bama, Ohio State, Notre Dame, etc. Well, I don't know about that, but I do know that, I mean, Liston made reference to it today. The NCAA in their building has a whole medical wing, and nobody there could comment on it. Say it's not bad evals. It's now 3 years of bad coaching by Beard. Ronnie, with all due respect, they went to the Sweet 16 for the second time in the history of the program 1 season ago. No, it's not 3 years of bad coaching. They made history as a program last season. But yeah, there are some things that have gone down this year that are concerning, no doubt. No doubt. He's good enough to overcome it, though. They need to win. They need to just get a few wins to get people comfortable with the current state of the program. It's very easy to check out on basketball in this state, especially if the baseball team's as good as they can be. Speaking of, that starts tomorrow. I'm going to hang it up, guys. Went straight from the show to the Megalodons' second game. Not to brag, 2-0. 2-0 as a coach. I might retire because I saw a couple of the other teams that we're going to play tonight, and they look really good. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. We'll see. But I'm going to hang it up, go to bed. I really appreciate you guys. You are the best. Don't forget to subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts, to the podcast feed, and I will see you this weekend. Got a couple of extra interviews coming next week. One is going to talk about the new NIL platform that Ole Miss is using. It's going to be somebody from that to kind of explain to you what it is. Another one's a former player that actually transferred out of Ole Miss, and I'm actually really looking forward to that conversation. It's somebody that it sounds like we'll talk to him. Didn't really want to, and has fond memories of his time in Oxford, and I'm going to ask him about, tampering and things like that. I'm really looking forward to that. So both of those are coming next week. And yeah, appreciate you guys. I'll see you Sunday. Enjoy your baseball this weekend. Talk to you then.